Hey guys, so today's video is going to be all about the different nail mistakes that you might be making and how to fix them. This idea came to me because I make a lot of mistakes and I have made a lot of mistakes. I've been doing my own nails since I was 12 and I've had my Instagram for I think exactly 4 years now. Like I think I just hit my 4-year mark, and along the ways I have learned a lot about what to do, but more importantly I think what not to do. And I think that's what I really enjoyed about the nail community when I first started my Instagram, is that we all really took a lot from each other and we all learned from each other and we were all very happy to help each other. I have learned so much over the last few years. I just wanted to show you guys certain things that you might be doing wrong and show you guys how to fix them. Now, in no way am I saying that like I'm perfect and I don't make mistakes. I definitely do, and I still make mistakes that I learn from all the time, but I wanted to just compile a list of ones that I see that are pretty common and that I've made a lot and I see other people making. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it, and without more of this intro, let's get into the nail mistakes that you might be making. One mistake that I see all the time, and I don't just see it on Instagram, I don't just see it on my friends, I see this at nail salons and it drives me nuts. This mistake is nipping your cuticles, and I use the word cuticles kind of loosely because people think that this thick skin around your nails is the cuticle. That is not what a cuticle is. The thick skin around your nails right here is what protects it from getting infections, and this is healthy living skin, and you do not want to take a nipper and start cutting along here just to get a smoother look on your nails. And I see this especially on Instagram where they'll take the nipper and just start cutting thick pieces of skin off and make everything look nice and smooth, and it makes the viewer think that it's good for your nails because everything is nice and clean and you have no cuticles and that everything looks so amazing, and it does look amazing. But the goal when getting a manicure is not just to get nails that look good, but also to keep your nails nice and healthy, and cutting living healthy skin is not good for your nails. What the cuticle actually is, if you can see, is this white dead skin that's usually attached to the nail plate. It's not right here on your skin, it's on your nails, and it's just dead skin and it can easily be removed. You don't even need these nippers. You can use something like this, which is a cuticle pusher. This is a metal one that I use on myself and that I sanitize and use on my clients, but you can use an orange wood stick. It's a lot less harsh on your natural nails. All I do, and I showed you guys this in my nail hack video, I take some cuticle oil and I just put it right there and I let it sit for about maybe a minute or so, and then I take my pusher and I push my cuticles away. And not only does this help get rid of the cuticles, but it also gives your nail kind of a wider, elongated appearance because the skin right here is being pushed down. You just want to make sure that you're not pushing too hard, because if you do lift this skin, you are more prone to infection. You want to just lightly scrape away the cuticle. The only reason you should ever use these nippers is if you see some cuticle that just won't come off with a pusher and it's kind of sticking out, and you'll know it's the cuticle because it's a thicker white piece of skin and it's very dry. It's not this healthy smooth skin right here. You can just lightly take the nipper and nip it away, and notice I am avoiding the healthy skin. I'm kind of pushing it away and focusing on the cuticle. So now that you have removed your cuticles, you have a nice smooth base to start painting your nails. One mistake I see people make a lot is after filing their nails or after removing their cuticles, like I just showed you, they will just go ahead and take their polish and just start painting. And one of the reasons this is a mistake is because any residue, any dirt, any oil that you have left on your nail is going to cause your polish to lift. It's not going to adhere very well and it's going to look bumpy. So instead of just going ahead and painting your nail, go ahead and wash your hands and then come back and start painting. Another trick is to take some acetone and apply it to a cleanup brush like this, kind of like how you would if you were cleaning up your nails, but just kind of dip the brush into a little bit of acetone and just wipe it only along your nail, just very, very slightly, just to get rid of any excess oil or dirt or any kind of residue. You don't want to do this too much because you don't want to really dry out your nail. You just want to dry out the oil that may be left over on your nail. One of the mistakes I also see people make is not using a base coat, which is this thing. There are so many base coats out there. This was literally the first one that I saw because it was already on my nail desk. Every single brand has a base coat. There are so many different kinds. There are peel off base coats, there are color correcting base coats, there are strengthening base coats, ridge filling base coats. I get a lot of questions about what kind of base coat to use, and honestly I cannot really recommend one over another just because I do my nails so frequently that a lot of times I don't use a base coat, or I use one and then I take it off the next day. So at this point you're probably like, you just said you don't use base coats, why should I use one? The reason that I don't use a base coat personally is because I don't keep my manicures on for very long. They're usually off the same day or the next day. If I know that I'm going to need my nails to last, I will use a base coat. Now, another reason you want to use a base coat is not just to prolong your manicure, also because you want to make sure that the polish that you paint onto your nails is not going to stain them. Now, staining is totally fine, it's totally normal. I think you can tell that my nails are not perfectly white. They are a bit stained because I have nail polish on them all the time. But people just don't like the look of stained nails, and also particularly with greens, blues, reds, those just leave a really kind of nasty color on your nails, and a base coat is really going to help make sure that that does not happen. So make sure that you use a base coat before your manicure, let it dry, and then go ahead and start painting your color. So you pick your color and it's really pretty. I actually love this color a lot and I haven't used it in a while. And the way that you can tell I haven't used it in a while is this separation right here. I think the glare is washing it out a bit, but I haven't used this polish in a long time. You do want to make sure that your polishes are nice and mixed up before you start using them. And if you start seeing a separation, if you know that your polish has been sitting on the shelf for a while, then you definitely want to go ahead and shake up the polish. But the mistake that I see people making is they'll take the polish, they'll shake it up, and then they will open it and go ahead and start using it. Now, it is okay to shake your polish, that's totally fine. I know people take it and kind of roll it between their hands like this, and that also works really well. Now, shaking your polish is okay. The mistake that you don't want to make is to shake it immediately before you use it. So you don't want to shake it up like this and then go ahead and open it up and start painting right away. If you do decide to shake it, I would give it at least a good 20 minutes to just sit, not on its side like I have now because I'm filming, but take it and just prop it up and let it sit like that, because what happens when you shake it is that it creates bubbles inside of your polish, and those bubbles will transfer onto the brush, and that brush will transfer the bubble onto your nail. If you do decide to shake it, go ahead and just let it sit and wait about 20 minutes or so, and then you can go ahead and paint. Now, if you decide that you don't have the time for your polish to sit there for 20 minutes and wait for the bubbles to pop, you can take the polish and put it in your hands and roll it back and forth a little more vigorously than I'm showing you. I'm kind of showing you the filming way, but you can just take it and do this back and forth, and that should do the trick. I do think that shaking is going to be the most effective way, but again, you just want it to sit and let it settle for a good 20 minutes or so. Now it is finally time to paint your nails. You have your cuticles, your filing, your base coat, everything is a-okay, your polish is settled, no bubbles, all that good stuff. A lot of times I see people making the mistake of having too much polish on their brush, where you can kind of see, well, I didn't mean to do it that much, but you have so much that there's really nowhere for it to go but down. And as you can see, I've just like made a huge mess. I basically have turned my skin into a little nail polish pool. This is not going to get you the cleanest look. This is going to stain your skin. This is going to be very hard to clean up. One of the ways to avoid this is when you take your brush out, wipe it against one of the walls of the bottle and then use what's on the other side. And when you do that, you are going to be left with a lot less polish, and it's going to spread a lot more evenly and a lot more smoothly onto your nail. So now that you have a coat painted onto your nails and you're ready to paint the second coat, one of the mistakes I see people make, and honestly I make this mistake sometimes too, is they'll just paint their nail and leave it just like that. But what you want to do is you want to wrap the tip of your nail. Just take whatever is left on the brush and swipe it across like that. And what that's going to do is that's going to seal in everything together and kind of create this protective layer right up here. This is going to help your manicure last longer, and especially now in the summertime when we're using a lot more water, we're swimming, we're hanging out at the beach, whatever, it's going to help prevent water from getting into your nails. Water is one of the things that causes a lot of splitting and peeling and damage over the summertime. So not only is this going to help make your manicure last longer, it's going to help prevent the damage that water might cause, and it's also going to create just a nice put together look. Like for me, I have thicker nails, so if I don't wrap the tip, it just looks empty. It just looks like I painted a layer and then left the top naked. Another mistake I see people making, and this is particularly with light colors like this, is that they paint too many brush strokes and get very uneven kind of look. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Sometimes you'll paint a color and you'll notice that you may have left a little bit of it unpainted, or that is spread out a little unevenly. So in order to try to spread the polish around, you'll just paint more and more strokes. But as you can see, what that's actually doing is taking nail polish away from one end and putting it on the other, and then creating this really uneven base with patches here and where you may not have had them before, and you kind of just do whatever you can. And as you can see, the polish is drying up, so now it's getting thick and goopy. And that's just one big mess right there. So the best way to avoid this is to just paint it and let it be until you get to the next coat. So the best way to avoid this is if you see little patches and uneven spots in your nail polish, it's okay, just leave it. This is just the first coat. It's not supposed to look super opaque. There may be some little spots on your nail that are not covered how you would want them to be, but that's totally fine. Just leave it like this and it should be covered up in the next coat. So now that the first coat is nice and dry, go ahead and apply the second coat, and you should notice that all those little spots are nice and covered up. So this mistake is all about applying colors over one another. So if you guys have seen me do gradients, I normally start with the lighter of the two colors first, and that is because there's less of a chance that the colors are going to be altered when you put them on top of each other. So let's say you like this teal and you like this yellow and you want to combine them into a manicure and you think they would look really cool over one another. One mistake I see people making is they apply the darker color first. And the reason that this is a problem is because the chances that the yellow is going to look as vibrant over the blue as the blue is going to look as vibrant over the yellow are pretty small. It's going to make it harder for the yellow to look nice and bright over a dark base, and it's going to be a lot easier to get a darker color to show up nice and vibrantly over a lighter base. So over here I've painted the teal first, and just as an example, I'm going to do a little bit of a striping manicure. So if you notice, as I'm applying the yellow, you can definitely see that teal underneath coming through, and the yellow is not looking as yellow as it could. It's actually looking a lot more green, because when you put yellow over blue, obviously you're gonna get a green shade. And you're going to have to apply a pretty thick coat just to get it to look yellow, and even then, you can still see some of that teal coming in from underneath. So instead, go ahead and paint your lighter color first before going in and layering a darker color on top. So now that you have your lighter base down, you'll notice that once you start painting the darker color over the lighter color instead of the other way around, it's going to come off a lot more opaque, rather than just having a dark opaque polish on one end and a kind of patchier light color on top. So let's say you have just removed that teal base that I was wearing earlier and you see all this staining right here. What I see people doing way too often is taking a buffer like this and going over your nail and buffing away the stain. I talked about this in my nail hack video a little bit, about how people use buffers to get rid of ridges. They kind of just go along the nail and buff everything away and smooth everything out, and people kind of use the same method to get rid of these little stains down here. But again, when you use a buffer, you're getting rid of layers of your nail plate, and chances are it's not just going to take off that stain, which it probably will, but it's not just going to take that off, it's also going to take a little layer of your nail off, and it's going to create an uneven base once this part right here starts growing out. So what I like to do is I take some pure acetone. So I don't remove my regular polishes with pure acetone, and I've told you guys I like to mix pure acetone with an acetone base remover, but if there is some staining left, I take some pure acetone on a brush and I try to get rid of it that way. This does take away most of the staining that I've seen on my nails, and I kind of just swipe it up just to make sure everything is gone. And honestly, sometimes if you have a little bit of staining, just leave it. There's really not much you can do about it. I know that there's a lot of methods out there about using mouthwash and denture cleaner and lemon or toothpaste or all kinds of different things. I've never tried any of those things, so I can't recommend any of them. If it bothers you, it helps to put a milky nude polish polish on top to kind of make the nail look like a more natural color, but usually the acetone trick works for me. You just want to make sure that you're not using a buffer and going like this and taking off these little layers that are really necessary to help keep your nails nice and smooth and healthy. Another mistake I see very often, and I thought this was an idea that was largely eradicated, but unfortunately this idea is still around, where if you open a polish and it's kind of thicker like this, and it's just way too thick for you to paint. This particularly happens with glitter polishes like this, but if you do happen to open it and it's a little too thick for your liking, what I see people doing, surprisingly still in 2017, is taking acetone and dumping it into the bottle of nail polish. I have no idea where this came from or why people still do it. The argument is that it works. And yes, it does work, probably the first or second time that you use it, and then after that you'll notice that your nail polish is not usable anymore. And the reason is because acetone is a nail polish remover. It's a solvent. It breaks down your nail polish. That's the purpose of using acetone on a polish. So why would you put something that removes polish into a nail polish? It just doesn't make sense. So please, 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 please stop putting acetone in your polish. They actually make this, which is a nail polish thinner. This is from OPI, and this is a really, really good one. I just happened to get it at Cosmoprof the other day because I needed a new bottle, but Sally Beauty Supply sells the same thing for probably about $4 or $5. You can probably find it on Amazon. These are really inexpensive. Don't add more than 2 or 3 drops at a time just because you don't want to risk making your polish too thin. Shake your polish up, open the bottle, and if it's still a little too thick, just repeat that process. This is a great, great, great option. It should be actually the only option to thin your nail polish, but please be sure you are using a nail lacquer thinner instead of acetone to thin your nail polish. So that is it for this video. I hope that you guys learned something from it. I hope you took something from it. Maybe you don't make all of these mistakes, maybe you just make one, but I do think that this video is worthwhile even if you just learn one thing from it. I think, like, for me, every little bit helps. Every mistake, every lesson helps me just be better at what I'm doing. So I hope that you guys feel the same way. Like I said, if you do make these mistakes, it's totally okay. There's nobody like sitting over your shoulder judging you or watching you. This is just all to help you guys. There's no judgment coming from here. I have, like I said, made all of these mistakes dozens of times. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.